Hi everyone, today I'm going to be taking a short look back through one of my favourite racing game series, Burnout. Originally designed by Criterion Games, there were 7 main console games released between 2001 and 2011, plus 3 handheld editions and 1 remaster of the final game Burnout Paradise, released in 2018. And here's which ones I think are the best. To get us started, I'm putting the handheld title Burnout Legends in at 8th place. Released in 2005, this game follows the template set by Burnout III Takedown, with mixed results between the 2 handheld formats it released on. The Nintendo DS version is downright bad, with blocky graphics, slow gameplay, poor frame rate, and generally feels as if it simply is not suitable for the console. The PSP version fares much better, but a game which requires variable trigger pressure for throttle and brake really doesn't translate to a portable system's design and hampers the playability overall. In 7th place, I've had to choose the final game in the series from 2011, Burnout Crash. It takes the original Crash mode from the earlier games and puts it into a top-down perspective, with your objective being to drive into a crash zone at an optimal speed and position to cause the highest amount of damage to other vehicles and scenery. It's a neat game, but it's more of a puzzle title than an actual racing game, and it's relatively light on content. You'll see most of the levels within an hour of play. For this reason, Crash sits in the second to last place on this list. Into 6th now, and it's the one that started it all in 2001, the original Burnout. With over 20 years of progression, it's hard not to look back on this title and wonder how this game earned a sequel at the time. The graphics, while smooth, lacked a lot of detail compared to other driving games released at a similar time, such as Gran Turismo 3 and Project Gotham Racing, which were miles ahead with their presentation and content. The one saving grace for Burnout was the crash damage. Granted, there were no giant pile-ups and the crashes interrupted your gameplay so often that it became frustrating, but in those early days of fancy new sim racers with licensed cars not being allowed to show damage, Burnout was a breath of fresh air. The second big pull was the Burnout chain feature. By performing skillful manoeuvres such as drifting, near misses with traffic and driving on the wrong side of the road, you can fill your boost meter. Once full, you can activate this for a massive burst of speed. If you can hold on long enough and use the full boost meter in one go without lifting off, the boost meter will reach 0 and instantly refill to maximum, allowing you to chain infinite boosts together. This specific feature is, for me, the reason Burnout is so good. Crashes are great, but this is what makes the driving so compelling. 5th place now, and this might be the one where some younger viewers switch off. Sorry, but it's 2011's Burnout Paradise which slots in here. The game looks amazing for sure, and has spectacular crashes, stunts, a huge free roam map, online play, everything you'd want in a modern title, and a remastered upgrade for modern consoles with a re-release in 2018. I think Paradise is a great game, but I don't feel it's a great Burnout game. For me, Burnout is about the driving just as much as the crashing and over-the-top stuff, and Paradise simply has too many distractions which dilute the core gameplay too often. My top 4 games could really be presented in any order. They're all excellent games, and it's been a difficult choice to rank them as I have. Please let me know in the comments if you agree or not. 2007's Burnout Dominator is next on my list. Exclusive to the PlayStation 2 and PSP, this game bridged the gap between the PS2 and PS3/360 generation. After the big high points of Takedown and Revenge, Dominator felt like a slight return to the series' roots with the return of the Burnout chain mechanic and the removal of traffic checking. However, it didn't bring anything new to the franchise and so has historically always been a little under the radar. A brilliant game in its own right though, but just overshadowed by what came before and after. Into the top 3, and here's where I might start to get a little controversial. Burnout Revenge is my number 3. It's probably technically the best title of the series, with all the features added over the years in this one game, plus next-gen HD and widescreen presentation with cross-gen release on PS2 and Xbox 360, and the most destructive crash physics yet seen in the franchise. It's a truly fantastic game, but for me, this was a step too far with the addition of traffic checking, where, if you were travelling fast enough, you could ram cars driving in the same direction as you, rather than crashing into them, as you would have in previous games. I understand that this allowed for more streamlined gameplay, but I felt it took away from the skills required to drive accurately at speed and not come to harm. I'm nitpicking of course, but if I had to choose, there are 2 more games which slightly edge Revenge out at the top of this list. No, I haven't edited the video wrong. Burnout III Takedown is my number 2 game in the series. Utterly incredible in every way. In 2004 this title took what had come 2 years before and expanded literally everything. A jump in budget allowed for better realised vehicles, hugely improved crash physics, more tracks, more environments with greater variety, a superb soundtrack and some of the best arcade handling cars ever to appear in a video game. Truly one of the greatest driving games ever made. There's hardly anything negative to say about this title, except that EA hasn't graced us with a re-release on modern consoles. This and Burnout Revenge were very similar titles, releasing only 1 year apart, but the technical leap from Burnout II is something that we just don't see in today's games industry, which brings me to what I think is the best Burnout title overall. Yes, at number 1, the best Burnout title in my opinion is Burnout II Point of Impact. Yeah, it doesn't have all the incredible features of Burnout 3, the crashes are weak compared to future titles and the tracks and cars are limited, the game modes are sparse and its 4.3 graphics haven't aged well at all. But for a pure arcade driving experience, this is the one for me. It's up there with the original Ridge Racers and the classic Sega arcade titles, and in many cases even surpasses them. Accurately weaving and drifting through traffic on narrow courses with downhill slaloms, daring to keep the boost active for yet another burnout chain while knowing the slightest touch of another car will end your run, it's peak enjoyment for a racing game fan. To describe this game in one word, I'd say it is simply pure. It doesn't need anything more to enhance it, all the ingredients are there. Of course I love the later games in the series too, but for a game to hold such great memories for me 23 years later, it must be truly special. So there we have it, my thoughts on the Burnout series. Thanks so much for watching, and to everyone who supports this channel with likes and subs, please let me know what you think in the comments, and if there's any other series or games you'd like me to take a look at on the channel, I'd love to hear some suggestions. Thanks again, bye for now.